See if that changes anything. That's odd.
Did you guys try restarting your computers?
No, it's giving a playback error.
Interesting. Did you try restarting your YouTube?
But this is almost like YouTube is down.
That might be it. 1 second.
No, this is weird.
Yeah, so I'm seeing us on X just fine.
Yeah, this is clearly a problem with YouTube somehow. I just don't know how. So that's weird.
Phil, the reason they didn't call it libertarian patriotism, the reasons are a couple-fold here. So the first is that libertarian patriotism is not the same thing as libertarian nationalism, and it's not what he's proposing, because as you get into it, what you realize is that he's actually just talking about literally textbook conservatism, classical conservatism, like 90s conservatism. That's what he's talking about. And the second reason, Phil, is because he is trying to troll, but doing it or not troll, trying to
be evocative.
Agitate, provocative, Kyle, to get the people going. But all the people are doing are just going away from this website. I don't know. I'm angry that I have to be reading this right now. It's boring to me. And then we have to continue. And so, with both gratitude and resolve, I announce that the Libertarian Nationalist movement will officially launch at my speech in Denver, Colorado on October 18th. Okay, y'all got to go to listen to that, because that sounds like it's going to be great. At the Libertarian Party of Colorado's annual convention. Is it really annual if you've done it 4 times already this year? Quadrennial convention, fittingly,
quarterly,
in the same state where the party itself was born. This is our chance to rebuild liberty from the ashes of a failed idealism and to plant it again in the soil of strength, nation, and civilization. Okay, bro. Look, the problem is that this entire notion that by becoming a second conservative party, you are actually going to win enough people and pull them from the Republicans, or change the Republican Party by infiltrating it, however many of you, within a huge major party, is pure idealism. I cannot think of anything more idealistic, apart from possibly thinking that someone would read this and enjoy it. But other than that, I cannot think of anything that is more foolishly idealistic. Soil of strength, nation, and civilization. There's a lot of pulling from like blood and soil rhetoric here, but it's not subtle and therefore not enjoyable to me as a connoisseur of manifestos.
Oh, good Lord.
Now he goes into little headings, right? So he's got a 1, he's got a 2, he's got a 3. Here's the thing, though. They're all just a couple paragraphs long. Now, I've written theses with headings. Each thesis has to be a discrete heading, but you elaborate on it. Like 5 paragraphs is not going to cut. It's barely going to cut it for an X post.
Yeah.
So we've got the collapse and the opportunity.
For too long.
Okay.
Libertarianism has been a beautiful philosophy stranded in the clouds. It debated purity while losing power. It praised freedom in theory while surrendering it in practice. The Libertarian Party became a clown car of fringe radicals and unserious thinkers, mocked even by those who once loved it. Austin never loved it. Sorry. Meanwhile, the populist tide of MAGA, messy, raw, but undeniably patriotic, proves that millions of Americans still crave liberty, even if they no longer call it by that name. They don't call it by the real name that they're meaning either, which is communism. They despise bureaucracy, globalism. Globalism is not bad, sorry. And the arrogance of Washington. He crossed a river. What's so bad about Washington? They love enterprise, faith, and flag. MAGA revealed something libertarians forgot, that liberty cannot live without loyalty. A nation that despises itself cannot stay free. A people ashamed of their heritage cannot defend their rights. Libertarian nationalism arises from this realization. It does not reject the populist revolt of Trump or the moral courage of Millet. It completes them. It takes their energy and weds it to principle, order, and philosophy. We are not anarchists. We are not pacifists. We are not nihilists. We are Americans. With a weird-ass comma here. And we are libertarians who have learned that liberty without discipline is suicide.
Here's what we need to realize is there is a difference between the discipline that's imposed from without and the discipline that comes from choosing one's own source of authority and abiding by it. It is freedom. Liberty does require having authority, but it requires being able to choose and confer your own sense of authority and pursue it. That is what it requires. It does not require being faithful to some random figurehead. It does not require being faithful to a piece of fabric. It doesn't require any of this idolatry, of this reverence for false idols. What it requires is the choice of what matters and adherence to it, a decision as to what has value, and then action to realize that value in the world. That is the discipline of libertarianism. Anything else is prattle.
Since Amanda has better ideas than me, I can just read this thing and then Amanda can respond, and that's probably smarter for everybody.
I don't think necessarily. No. Oh God! Okay, so now he goes with Aristotle. To know who we are, we must first say who we are not. No, you idiots. Okay, this is his playing right into Hegel's hands. Look, all right, the notion, the doctrine of non-negation, that's a theory. The idea that something cannot be what it is not is derived from the Pythagorean notion of opposition. Stay with me, guys. Come on. The Pythagorean notion of opposition, where black is the opposite of white.
What does that have to do with triangles?
I'm gonna get to your face.
Oh.
There's another idea of opposition, which is Heraclitan, right? It's that opposites are synergetic. So it's not as though something can't be what it is not. So it simply isn't what it is not. Think of the numbers 1 and 2.
You can't use those words on the stream because people don't know how to spell them to look them up.
Syzygy. Syzygy. It's one of my favorite words. Syzygy. So it's as though you're saying 1 is the opposite of 2. 1 isn't the opposite of 2. It's just simply not 2. There's a distinction in what we conceive of as being opposition. So the notion that nothing comes from something is more correct than to say that something comes from nothing. So to say who we are not, and then by saying who we are not, we therefore know who we are, is bollocks.
He only did triangles, Alexa. His entire school was just about trying to figure out how to deal with right triangles. This is well known.
See, Kyle likes Archimedes better because
he got naked and told me Eureka.
Say what you will about Archimedes, but he had a point.
It was his penis. So I want to touch on, like, there's been this like rise in the misusage of nationalism that drives me crazy. There's this idea that nationalism is just pride in your country, pride in your people around. That's horseshit. It's horseshit. What nationalism is, especially when you have an adjective in front of it, is a description of how you want the nation and the state to be the same. And so when you say libertarian nationalism, you mean that you want a nation where the only option is to be a libertarian. And that means that the people are, by law and force, libertarian. That's the most fucking anti-libertarian thing possible. Oh my God. It's painfully stupid. Like, literally just the term is painfully stupid. And then he goes on for 5 paragraphs that are also stupid. I'm so mad.
Again, it's got to either be on the back of a napkin or it's got to be in a tome that is longer than the complete works of William Shakespeare. You can't do it halfway. To know who we are, we must say who we are not. No, you mustn't. Okay, that's not how identity works. The law of non-negation is stupid. That's libertarian nationalism. And again, so you see the very, very sophomoric surface level understanding of philosophy here with just saying, oh, well, again, you have to explain what you're not in order to know what you are. No, you don't. You determine your own way because, and this is actually revelatory as it pertains to his reactionism. Because yes, reactionaries are always in opposition to something. Reactionaries do say what they're not for. Reactionaries only exist in opposition to something else. But the truly liberated person is the person who can forge their own identity creatively without looking back and saying what they oppose. Now, they will find things to oppose, but it's in creating and oftentimes in being met with resistance to their creation. Identity is active, and identity doesn't just come from opposing something else. Identity comes from affirming who you are and what is meaningful to you, not looking at something else for a reflection.
And the choice in what you want to be and working toward that choice. The idea that you are defined not by your beliefs, but by your lack thereof is sad.
By the way, this is also part of why we don't like the non-aggression pledge as is.
It's true.
I pledge that the core of my philosophy is that it is against something else. Well, then you don't have a philosophy. You have a non-pledge. You have an anti-pledge.
It's true.
Libertarian nationalism rejects the delusion of a stateless utopia.
Welcome to LP Alliance, motherfucker.
It's not a utopia.
Utopia is here.
It's not a utopia. Utopia means no place.
God King Mongol Phil keeps everything flawless.
We have to say that. We are contractually obligated to say that. That is true. The God King Mongol Phil Ryan does keep everything flawless, and I'm terrified for my life. Mm-hmm. Civilization demands law.
Twice.
Freedom without structure is chaos. Once again, in the words of another wonderful podcaster, this is a straw man, because nobody is saying that there shouldn't be structure. What we're saying is one must create one's own structure or be swallowed by another. And that's not freedom. The anarchist may dream of markets without borders, but without a nation strong enough to defend them, markets burn. Without a nation strong enough to give corporate kickbacks, markets burn. We also reject the pacifism that hides behind the non-aggression principle. The NAP is a fine moral sentiment, but a terrible governing rule. Now, I agree in part with that. I agree with half of that. Nations that refuse to act until attacked soon vanish from the map. Just like things that refuse to identify themselves unless they have something to react to are not actually concepts in their own right.
Right? He starts saying something that's legitimate with that we reject the pacifism that hides behind the non-aggression principle. Like, us too. But then this concept that, but we are really pro-war if we think that someone else is going to be bad, we have to kill them.
But he's not even saying that. I mean, so again, it's...
liberty must sometimes strike first to survive.
Yes, and I would actually agree with that as well in terms of the political, right? Because
sure,
it's
but
always
he's not
already
aggressive.
Here. I know. Well, clearly he's using the law of non-negation. So, nations that refuse to act until attacked soon vanish from the map. Liberty must sometimes strike first to survive. The problem is that he is replacing pacifism with reactionary isolationism, which is just as toxic, if not more so, because it hides its pacifism behind a guise of like alpha masculinity. I want no one. I need no one. I want to be left alone. And I want the government to exist to make other people leave me alone. That's not libertarianism. That's not any kind of political ideology that can stand. I want the government to exist so that it makes people leave me alone. I want nothing to do with anyone else. I want the government to exist so that it makes other countries leave me alone. I want the government to exist so that it makes the people who I don't like, who don't think like me, who don't dress like me, who don't have the same sexuality as I do, make them leave me alone. Don't let them bother me. Again, it
Rob or
lines up.
Jocelyn or
It
Jeremy,
lines up perfectly.
make sure to clip that without the beginning. I need it for later.
It lines up perfectly with the reactionism of all of this. The government exists to help me repel things that I don't want. Then who are you? You're a reactionary. Finally, we reject the cultural hedonism that consumed modern libertarianism, the obsession with fringe causes and moral relativism. A society that cannot tell right from wrong cannot be free. Once again, I agree that an individual who cannot determine for himself what is right and what is wrong is not free. Then to take that to the level of society and to say that every person in society rather, must have an identical sense of right and wrong is nonsense.
But he, like so many of the other ones that call themselves libertarian nationalists and who are conservatarians and all the shit, they believe in moral objectivism, right? They believe in the concept that there is one morally correct thing, period. And if you're outside of that thing, you're immoral. It's nonsense.
So Liberty Centuries, is it isolationism when the point is to attack first in case of any alleged threat? If the idea is to attack someone in order to make sure that they leave you alone, then yes, that is a type of isolationism. Fringe causes are the first to be targeted by the state. Well, yeah, because they're the easiest, because they're on the fringe. The idea of political action, what political action should be about, is pushing the boundaries of what is political, what is able to be accomplished politically, and pushing the boundaries of what constitutes action as well, right? So political action is a type of creation begetting infinite creation. A fringe cause is the most political cause that there is because it is fighting for legitimacy. It has yet to be defended. It has yet to be claimed. And then you extend the boundary of the political further. So a fringe cause is the greatest threat to the status quo, which is why any status quo entity needs to beat back against the fringe causes and make everything very small, make their world very small, make the political a very, very tight, very insular idea, rather than saying it's an area for individuals to maximize their creative potential. Yeah, fringe causes are always the most dangerous to the status. That's rather the point. Libertarian nationalism stands for order, property, family, merit, and nation. It stands for merit. Why did this even get published? It honors the founders, capital F, who built a republic of laws, and the pioneers who expanded it across the continent. It embraces decentralization without surrendering unity. There's the word. There's the word. So again, we always hear that call for unity, right? Among people who are rightists, who are reactionaries, right? Because again, unity is about everyone becoming one. Unity is about a lack of distinction. Unity is simply about eliminating anyone who is different. If you look in mathematics, right, and Kyle can explain this very well, but if you have a set, when you have unity, that means that you have eliminated what doesn't fit or what is different. We talk about solidarity. We call these solidarity streams for a reason. And that's because solidarity is strength through uniqueness. Yes, everyone is together on a cause, but they're using their uniqueness in order to realize that cause. Charlie Larkin wrote in The Torch recently, and he had an amazing, it was very, very simple, but it was wonderful. brilliant in its simplicity, had an analogy of a pillar or a column. So a pillar or a column is obviously unique. It stands on its own. It supports something greater. They can only support something greater when there are other individual unique columns also supporting that same thing in a coordinated network. That's solidarity. Unity is this fascistic smear of banality. It loves peace, but will never kneel before those who despise civilization. Kyle, why do you despise civilization?
Because I thought we got away from 2001. And listening to this rhetoric is just like, fuck, man. George Bush could have said this.
I told you this. There's nothing new in this, which stands to reason because it's conservative and reactionary, and they don't do new things.
There's so much not understood here. Half of the founders were anti-federalists who wanted no federal government at all. Technically speaking, more than half. Libertarianism comes from that. Being the side of like, oh, well, we're the ones who embrace family and nation. No, the fuck we are not. You are literally saying like that you are an anti-federalist federalist. It's so painful.
It fits in well with their Project Decentralized Centralization.
It's true. And the concept, like Amanda's already poked this pretty hard, but the concept that we have to be unified is nonsense. I am not unified with Austin Peterson. There is no world where I am unified with Austin Peterson. Is there a cause I might stand in solidarity with Austin on? I hope not.
I'm sure there is, Kyle. I'm sure there is. Might be antagonizing me. Who knows?
So, 3. The Libertarian Nationalist Code. So, why is this?
Okay, so if you're doing
It's
theses,
just a list.
if you're doing theses, a list is not a thesis. All right, throughout time and history, I have to quibble with people who don't understand what theses are. But a list is not a thesis because you have to make an argument. So you can include a list within a thesis, but you have to elaborate. Why these principles? Why are these libertarian?
Look,
why are these nationalist?
He gave you an entire chapter. I don't know why you bothered.
I still have not gotten the argument, and I would like to hear it. I genuinely would. I've not gotten the argument as to how nationalism and libertarianism are compatible. Now I've gotten platitudes. I've gotten random rhetoric.
He explains in this list quite well that what he believes libertarianism is reactionaryism. If you look at every one of them is
conservatism. It's not even. I'm angry that I have to be reading this because it's boring.
We believe in these principles. Liberty rooted in moral strength, not indulgence. A nation bound by shared ideals, not tribal divisions. Government that governs least but defends best. Free enterprise is the lifeblood of human dignity. The Constitution as the covenant of our civilization. Borders as the guardians of sovereignty. Families as the foundation of liberty. Property rights as sacred and enforceable. Civilization over barbarism without apology. Leadership through merit, courage, and service. This is not theory. It is a creed to live by, fight for, and pass on to our children.
If Dennis Prager were reading this, I would just be ashamed because it's too boring for him. There's nothing here. This is a pamphlet from the Heritage Foundation. That's all there is. That's all that this is. Why do you believe in these things? Why is that libertarian nationalism? A list is not a thesis. Policy. Sorry.
Look, he says as much, Amanda. This is not theory. I don't know. It's a creed.
It's not theory, and yet we're proceeding from the bunk doctrine of non-negation. Okay.
Manifesto. not theory.
I mean,
I think we're done. Right? He tells us his horse shit.
something's been manifested. I'm not sure what. Ivy, policy prescriptions.
I wish.
I know, I'd like one. Policy prescriptions for a free and strong republic. Libertarian nationalism is not a spectator's philosophy. Okay, actually, that's good. I don't think that any kind of political ideology or belief should be a spectator sport. It is a governing agenda for the restoration of the American public. It's not wrong to put policy prescriptions into a manifesto. It is simply incomplete because policy is a manifestation, a materially contingent manifestation of what your beliefs are. So policy preferences shift. Policy preferences are materially fungible. Okay, actual ideas and the premise behind those policy prescriptions is not. So it's disorienting when we spend so little time on those premises and so much time on the actual policy prescriptions. Because if I'm not sold on the why, I'm not even coming with you on the what. The what's not even going out the door. By the way, Alexa, I am a professional editor. I don't yell at people aside from Kyle, who write for The Torch, usually because they're extremely good. But hopefully anyone who has written for The Torch can tell you that, like, I love the stuff that we get. So this is, I would not publish this, but I also don't think, Alexa, I also don't think that you would write something like this. So
John Ponte asked a very good question of if we put it through the AI check. And so I decided that's what I was doing there, was grabbing the text.
I don't
and
think
GPT.
he necessarily did. He might have edited it.
Zero GPT doesn't agree with you.
He might have edited it in a GPT.
Likely human written may include parts generated by AI.
There, see, yeah. That's how I feel like, because he wrote an earlier version, and I think probably what happened is he did some amendments, modifications, and spit it into AI.
There's a lot of AI shit that it thinks here.
Yeah.
We should humanize it and respond to him.
Okay, government and law. Sunset outdated federal agencies and return powers to the states. Require every major regulation to be explicitly authorized by Congress. Relocate departments out of Washington to break the Beltway monopoly.
What is a major regulation? It's not defined.
Well, the minor regulations are fine, Kyle.
You can always regulate the children.
I would say cohere. I agree with you, and I've actually thought about this too, Alexa. Solidify does feel weird. Yeah, if you're like unifying, what is the verb, right? For to be in solidarity. A lot of times I'll say stand, right? Which is our fight, right? I will use the action that I think solidarity creates, rather than just say something like solidify. But yeah, I like cohere, although that's still a little bit unity adjacent. What do you think, Kyle? Is there a superior word to unify, because solidified feels like it wouldn't work? And I agree with Alexa.
I just reword the sentence.
Yeah.
So that I have stand together in solidarity or work together in solidarity. I just take it back to solidarity every time.
Yeah.
I realize that's cheap.
No, I do that. I do that as well. I was trying to think if there's an actual word that I prefer, but I think usually I want a verb that the solidarity accomplishes. End civil service tenure that shields incompetence from accountability. Audit every federal agency, abolish those failing constitutional review. Again, some of these are fine, but this isn't anything new. This is milquetoast conservatism. This is textbook traditional conservatism. Economy and independence. Pursue sound money and balanced budgets. Yeah, and so that's the other thing, Natalie, is the way this is sort of blah, 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 without apology. Like, what are you not apologizing for? This is the most mundane.
We're unapologetically
Slop.
American.
We're unapologetically putting you to sleep. There's nothing edgy about this. Pursue
This
some.
is a stone that is set in a tumbler for weeks.
Economy and independence. Pursue sound money and balanced budgets. Alexa, I mean, because Unite is still about. That's still, I think, it's. I mean, I don't think I know. That's still derived from Unity, and so I think I wouldn't use it. But I it's good to be like trying to work toward a new vocabulary for that. Cut corporate welfare and foreign aid before touching a dime of earned income. Decouple critical industries, energy, medicine, and semiconductors from China. Promote onshoring and hemispheric trade with trusted allies like India and Argentina. Replace the income tax with a simplified consumption-based system. Again, some of these, not terrible. All of them, not provocative. And they're also not written provocatively. We just have bullets. Austin got a little bit tired, and he just did a bulleted list. Tom, this is pretending to be a manifesto. Culture and education.
To be clear here, normally, even with the great, glorious background of Austin Peterson, we wouldn't probably even talk about this, right? This is such a fucking joke. But
we were asked explicitly to talk about this.
Yeah, Austin Peterson, Tom. He's a walnut.
I said at the start of the stream, he was the Libertarian Party's low rent Tucker Carlson, but now he's just a Republican. So, culture and education. Reinforce the family as the central institution of liberty.
Whoops.
Abolish federal involvement in education, return it to parents and localities, and government funding for ideological nonprofits and activist nigos. Protect children from sexual exploitation and gender experimentation. Celebrate Western civilization in schools rather than apologize for it. Immigration and sovereignty. Celebrate Western... Okay. Wait. Abolish federal involvement in education and celebrate Western civilization in schools. What if the parents and localities don't want to celebrate Western civilization in schools? Is that fine?
We've already gone through this. This is a nationalism movement. Either you agree with the opinions or you can get the fuck out.
So we're not abolishing federal involvement in education.
No, see, you're refusing to understand how simple this is. You can either educate your kids the way we want you to, or you can leave. But the government's not going to enforce, some kind of government teaching program.
The government's not going to pay for it, but you have to.
Yes.
Okay, you have to educate your kids the way we want you to, but we're not going to pay for it. Great. Immigration and sovereignty. Secure the border with technology, manpower, and law. Make English the official national language. Okay.
Fuck you.
Okay. How is that? Again, I would love to see under each of these bullets, I would love to see an exposition as to why this is libertarian. Now, I'm getting the nationalism. I'm fine. I'm sold on that. I would like to see how this is a uniquely libertarian nationalism. And I'm telling you, it's not just to tear this up, because I frequently read people with whom I disagree vehemently. And some of the writing is really good. I talk to Kyle every day. Kyle's not a good writer, but some of the writing is very good. Every time, you try to find something new. You try to find something new to wrestle with. There's nothing to wrestle with here. This is Axios. I'm reading Axios on nationalism.
Tom has the correct name for this. This is clearly MAPA. Make America Britain again.
Make English the official national language. Eliminate dual citizenship for elected officials. Require civics proficiency for all naturalization applicants. Suspend entry from nations that sponsor or excuse terrorism.
That's not good, because that means everyone born here is fucked.
It says suspend entry, so as long as you never leave. There,
No.
it's okay.
When
No,
you leave
it's
that
going to be
vagina,
the wall. The wall is going to have two sides to it. It's perfect.
no, it means that every
It's
mother has to go to
nobody can
neutral
leave.
freaking international waters to have their children. And then you have to wait until you can make sure that the United States is no longer terrorists.
I agree with Alexa. Official national is redundant. National official. Defense and foreign policy. Maintain the most powerful military on earth, but deploy
Too
it
late.
only for defense of our people and our civilization.
Except where he's decided that it needs to be an interventionist earlier. That you have to have first strike capabilities.
End the forever wars. I'm about to come out in favor of forever wars. End the forever wars of globalist adventurism, just because I can. Strengthen alliances that defend liberty, withdraw from those that do not. Who decides? Reject both isolationism and empire. This entire thing is nothing but isolation. You isolated yourself from every
Amanda,
other textbook in
globalists are
existence
bad.
when you wrote this. You isolated yourself from any
Thought.
defensible like policy doctrine or theoretical doctrine. Prepare for new theaters of conflict in cyberspace and economics. Fine. Libertarian nationalism aims not for utopia, but for stability, prosperity, and moral clarity. Once again, it's not libertarian. Libertarianism is a fundamentally radical ideology. It celebrates in the first place the root of all agency, which is the individual. And also, by being radical, it upsets stability. The stability of a state is its disruption. That is how states endure, is through this process of destabilization and creating a new equilibrium. And then that's destabilized and another equilibrium is forged. That doesn't mean that you forget about prior acts of destabilization. You're impelled outward and onward from those prior acts that bore the present one. So there is a coherent narrative. There is a through line. There is a sense of identity, but identity is fungible, just as it is for everyone. Our national identity changes. Our own identity changes. We define it. We invent it. There is the idea of having a kind of stability is itself utopic. It is itself utopian.
And again, he ends with moral clarity. He is again telling you that there is one moral choice always. There is one set of morality rules. It's the same kind of nonsense that like gets you to the idea that it's the same thing for Bill Gates to walk in and steal a loaf of bread as it is for somebody who's starving to death. The situation matters. Yes.
See, Bill Gates can afford a lawyer, and so he can get off. So he shouldn't be punished.
Yes, that's what's being said here.
Yes.
It's just nonsense. It's so gross. It is the most anti-libertarian take possible. When you have to tell me that I'm immoral because I disagree with you, and you don't have any argument, because we can see here he has no arguments, he has no thoughts. You're just a tyrant. What he's asking for here is to reject anyone that doesn't lick the state's boot.
A particular kind of state, let's be fair.
Sure, one that's libertarian.
Are we going onward?
5.
Am I doing this or are you?
I'm going to take this one.
Okay.
America first. Civilization united. Some accuse us of contradiction. You're goddamn right I do. How can we be nationalist and international allies at once? The answer is simple. Because civilization is a team sport. You know what this means, right? This is him saying that he wants imperialism. He's not going to say that directly, but just pay attention as we're going on. We support Israel not out of sentimentality, but because it stands as a shield between barbarism and the West. Barbarism means Muslim. It fights the same enemies that once sent pirates to the shores of Tripoli. Again, Muslim. It upholds the same principles of law, industry, and individual conscience that define our civilization. It's because he doesn't like the non-whites. But our loyalty is first and last to America. America first means socialism. That's literally what it started as. 1800s Progressive Party. Go look it up. This is from the Know Nothings. Means that every alliance must serve the defense of our own people. Israel deserves our friendship when that friendship strengthens the free world and deters radical Islam. There it is. There's the most honest thing he said. But he doesn't actually mean radical Islam. He means Islam. When it does not, we owe them honesty, not blank checks. That's when you remember that the Israelis aren't necessarily white. And so, not good. But as long as they're stopping the worst non-whites, it's better. A free people has no duty to spread democracy by force. Yet we have a moral right to stand beside those who refuse to be slaughtered by savages. The choice is not between empire and retreat, but between civilization and chaos.
I want to get to Nome. So I think that there's a difference in terms here, because global governance, one world governance, certainly not libertarian. When it comes to, again, fighting in solidarity with other people who share a similar cause, then liberty doesn't have borders. It doesn't. Liberty does not bow to any artificially drawn lines. It doesn't stop, at the end of my neighborhood or at my state border or at my national border. Neither does my concern for someone else who fights for the same things that I do. So one world government absolutely is not libertarian. But fighting for a common cause with people around the world absolutely is. And in fact, it's a libertarian imperative.
And like was mentioned earlier, globalism was intended to mean free trade. Globalism is the concept that, like Milton Friedman's talked about, you can't make a pencil because the graphite's coming from Africa and the wood's coming from Canada and the paint's coming from Asia and the metal's coming from Australia. And you put all these things together and you've made a pencil that no one person could make. The idea of globalization is supposed to be globalization of ideas and trade and people working together. It's not supposed to be the globalization of tyranny.
Although, to be fair, I think that because there is this confusion, I tend to use the word internationalism.
Sure.
I'm an internationalist.
So we've gone back to a list because Austin ran out of ideas again. The Libertarian Nationalist Foreign Policy Doctrine. America's military exists to defend our people, our allies, and civilization, and our interests. So again, it's not just defense, it's our interests. So if you go take Africa because of all the great resources, our interests were preserved. We reject isolationism, liar, and globalism, liar, alike. Strength with restraint. That's okay. So strength with restraint.
This is what I mean when I say it's prattle, because it's just like you can say things, but that doesn't actually make them interested. Then you need to back it up, and there's nothing to back it up. There are no words below the bullet.
Strength with restraint, as someone who came from a very conservative family, is one of the most bullshit clip phrases there is. Because strength with restraint means you're telling the child, I could beat you to death, but instead, I only made you pick the switch and only bloodied your legs. That's all it is. We support Israel's right to exist, sure, and defend itself as a fortress of Western civilization. We oppose funding any state or movement that seeks America's destruction. What does the destruction of America mean? Are we glassing the country? Are we talking about America the people? Are we talking about America the idea? Are we talking about America the land? All of them? What is the destruction of America here? He's not giving a definition because he wants it to mean whatever you think is going to fit the best. There's no actual America there. We engage abroad only when it secures liberty at home.
Oh, you spill them. That's great. So there's absolutely no description of what that actually means to have it secure liberty at home. Civilization without apology. Without apology. This entire thing is an apology. It's an apologia for traditional conservatism, which is like doing even worse than libertarianism right now, if you haven't noticed. Libertarian nationalism refuses to apologize for progress. Don't worry about that one. Conquest or civilization itself. We know that Western civilization, for all its sins, remains the greatest force for freedom in human history. Modern that should be contemporary libertarians. Libertarians infected by leftist guilt have adopted the language of our enemies. It's really shame. It's shame that there are reactionary conservatives who claim the mantle of libertarianism. That it's leftist shame. They tear down statues, sneer at our founders, and praise tyrants abroad because it feels rebellious. Yeah, paging all of those tweets about how wonderful Putin is. But rebellion without virtue is decay. Rebellion without virtue is decay. You know, not all types of rebellion are virtuous, but rebellion itself is virtuous. It is. You always have some act of rebellion. And rebellion is not simply reaction. Rebellion is not looking at something and pointing at it and saying, I'm going to oppose that. It's saying, here's what I stand for. There's something in the way of it, and I'm going to move it. And in doing that, I'm going to move the world. That is what rebellion is about. And we should be doing that every single day. We honor the founders in full. Jefferson's ideal of an empire of liberty. Hamilton's insistence on national strength.
Fuck Hamilton.
Washington's warnings against entangling alliances, but also his readiness to lead armies when liberty was threatened. Can you imagine like the types of people who would support this manifesto during the Revolutionary era, during the Revolutionary War?
Yeah, they'd all be wearing red coats.
The British flag is our flag. We have to stand for it. With our wonderful, great history of common law and the glorious revolution. Sometimes you stop upholding the ideals that your nation was created to serve. Libertarian nationalists reject secessionism and despair. We believe in a united America that expands freedom, not fractures it. We dream not of breaking...
No, the fuck we don't. I want every state to be a unique state. I don't want to drive across the entire South and go from Mississippi to Florida and it be the same bullshit the entire time.
You heard it here first. Kyle wants a Soviet system. Washington's warning... Oh, I already read that part. We dream not of breaking away, but of breaking through. Of adding new states, new frontiers, and new worlds. If that
adding new states.
Adding new states.
Remember that imperialism claim?
It's not imperialism, Kyle. The manifesto said it's not imperialism.
It's just...
Without apology, Kyle! Our manifest destiny is not dead. It extends to the seas, the stars, and the digital frontier. A free civilization must always build, explore, and dare. Stagnation is death. Yes, that is true. But this is not a recipe for any of that. This is pure stagnation. The argument that we stand
stagnation as long as you're bombing other countries and taking their land.
Nationally imposed order. The argument that we need to reject the fringes. The argument that we need to preserve what is, and that's a pillar of what we're doing, is an argument for stagnation. There's nothing here that's about exploration. Exploration requires being revolutionary. Exploration requires defiance. Exploration requires the fringe, and it requires creating new fringes. Everything that has been worth doing has been a fringe idea. And yes, there are attempts to preserve those ideas, but it's always to forward them. It's never to keep them as they are without any kind of intrusion or infiltration. It is always to expand those ideas, the frontiers of those ideas, the meaning of those ideas, to add new dimensions. So, yes, stagnation is death. And that is what this manifesto prescribes. The birth of a new libertarianism. This is rich because there's nothing new in here. You can talk about how you want daring and boldness and, disparage stagnation all you want. But when your entire manifesto is something that the Heritage Foundation could have published 25 years ago, it's not a new libertarianism. In Trump's first administration, not a single declared libertarian sat in his cabinet. Oh, declared. That's the operative word. Bookmark that. That failure was not his fault. It was ours. We had thinkers, not leaders, philosophers, not generals. Which one are you thinking?
So that was
are?
particularly funny to me because he was a libertarian for a decade.
Millet proved what happens when a libertarian decides to lead. He took the torch of liberty and set fire to a corrupt establishment. He reminded the world that ideas are nothing without courage. Now the torch passes to us, and that's why you should write for the torch and avoid the fate of publishing something as bad as this. Libertarian nationalism calls for a new generation of liberty leaders, doers, not talkers. Talking is a thing that you do. You understand that you need to...
Everyone knows that to talk is not a verb. Come on.
Again,
it is clearly an adjective.
People can't only talk, but language is incredibly important. Galvanizing a crowd is very important. And of course that requires action. And that's why, you can't just give a lecture on Ayn Rand and expect to win hearts and minds. But what you do need to do is you need to go out.
Is give on any Russian leader and you've won a man's heart and mind.
What you do need to do is go out and engage people on materially salient issues that are germane to them and get them involved in activism and get them involved in a cause. Then they're invested. They've invested their time. They've invested their energy. They've invested their thought. But what does that require? It requires pushing boundaries. It requires being unsettled, and it requires daring for more. It requires upsetting the status quo. It requires rebellion. You enlist people in rebellion, and that's how something moves forward. All right.
So Joe said that he joined late. This sounds cringe so far. Maybe he's trolling. Does he
He's
mention
not.
when we invade Greenland and put the Arabs in gas chambers?
He did, actually, just about.
He did.
Yeah.
Also, he's not trolling. He's literally going to be talking through this at the convention for Colorado in Denver this weekend.
If he's trolling, this is like a decade-long troll.
Yeah.
Doers, not talkers. People who build companies, raise families, win elections, and take responsibility. The era of think tank libertarians is over. The era of libertarian statesmen begins.
Fuck you.
¿Por qué no los dos? I mean, really, I don't think that people should only be writing manifestos, especially when they're like this. But I think that people do need to merge action with thought. You can't have one without the other. Thought is meaningless without action. Literally, I mean, you confer meaning by acting. And action without thought is, something that it sounds like libertarian nationalism would totally support. Because you're just following orders, but you feel free. This movement is not a retreat from principle, but a return to purpose.
He's not wrong. You can't laugh at that. There's not a principle in this.
That's true. But a return to purpose. It is Jefferson's dream fortified with vitamin D by Hamilton's structure.
Gross.
It is individual liberty defended by national strength. It is localism bound by loyalty to a civilization worth saving.
Read that again. Read that last line. What does that last line even mean?
That's why I slowed down. It is localism bound by loyalty to a civilization worth saving. So I think what he's doing here is he's saying, you need to be locally minded, but the locale should be a reflection of a broader civilization and its uniformity, or as we like to call it sometimes, decentralized centralization. It is decentralized centralization. Now, again, it's easy to accuse us of being hypocritical because, yes, I would like for people to care about their communities that they've chosen, and I would like for us as libertarians to have a shared identity. But that identity, again, only exists and is only forged through our uniqueness. And what's more, that identity does not govern other facets of our lives to the exclusion of. We incorporate it. We incorporate who we are into a shared identity. We don't collectivize ourselves and let go of our individualism. We move our individualism forward and we aggrandize and enrich our identity through belonging to something. And that's something that we choose. So localism bound by loyalty to a civilization worth saving. Loyalty is another one of those words that I don't really like. It sounds deferential. It sounds like you are obeying. And I think that's what he wants to get at. But that's not what libertarianism is about. When libertarians adhere to a set of principles and ideas, do they practice loyalty? I wouldn't use the word loyalty. I would say that there is a sense of faithfulness, right? Faith is active. Loyalty is very passive. So I'm going to do what you tell me to. Faithfulness is, I am going to move in service of this. I'm choosing how this matters. I'm choosing how I'm going to serve this, and I'm going to serve it. The call to the vanguard.
We got to go for this one.
Do you want to do this?
Well, yeah, I'm afraid that if you say the words, the time for theory has ended out loud, you might gag.
Well, no, because I like the age of action, and I think anyway, it's really more the forced alliteration that's getting me right now. So you can go.
The time for theory has ended. The age of action begins.
Alliteration and assonance. What?
The Libertarian Nationalist movement will not wait for permission from the old guard. He is the old guard. We will take the field, organize, and win.
This is like Nicholas II saying that he's an anarchist. This is crazy. I'm sorry, go on.
We will infiltrate the Republican Party where it can be saved and build new institutions where
How are you going to infiltrate the Republican Party when there are maybe like 3,000, 4,000 people, and I'm being very generous, who in the Libertarian Party would get behind this? Against how many Republicans? Against how much funding?
Yeah. We will raise candidates, fund creators, teach craftsmen, and forge families. So, you know what? Okay, so let's step through those one by one for just a second here. We will raise candidates.
I think of like a baddie candidate. You're like, you know, rocking it.
Fund creators. That's Dave Smith. Teach craftsmen. What?
You're going to go to school for metallurgy. I don't know what else to tell you.
And forge families. He's again there talking about the idea that this is going to be a 30-year thing.
He's forging families.
Going to have
Kyle, he's asbestos. He's hammering. He's hammering on civilization. I don't know.
This is a call not to purity, but to power.
I think it's demanding a lot of purity.
The moral power to govern ourselves and defend our posterity. If he said posterior, I would at least like...
I don't even think he's doing a good job of defending his posterior, quite frankly.
The founders fought a revolution not to end authority, but to reclaim it from tyrants.
I mean, true. But that's the entire notion that we're getting at here, that authority is about authorship, right? It is deciding what principles are the authors of your values and your actions. That is an always already agentic independent sovereign act. Which is why I think sometimes when we talk about authoritarianism, we're a little bit off the mark. We should be talking about totalitarianism, but that's for another time and place. Authority. Sorry, go on. Yeah, go for it.
We must do the same. Liberty is not a spectator sport. It demands warriors, builders, and believers. And that's why
aren't the believers the spectators? Sorry, go on.
That's why every time you see Austin, he's in like a poorly fitted suit. And you've never seen him with a gun on his hip. Because he's a warrior.
Maybe he's one of the believers, Kyle. The believers sound like they don't do much.
It's fair. When future generations ask what we did when liberty faltered, let them read these words and know we fought.
Let them read these words and know we fought them, yes. Yes, very good.
Let them know that in the age of chaos, some still believe that freedom could be strong, moral, and proud. The arena awaits. This guy, he got confused, okay? Halfway through, he thought he was writing an advertisement for the latest...
like WWE or something. Someone's going to come out in like an American flag belt or something.
I was just going to say arena shooter, but, Austin Peterson, founder, For Liberty Network. I honestly think that if you asked ChatGPT to write something that was inspiring about libertarianism and how a libertarian country would be great, you would get a better manifesto than this.
And Kyle is saying this after last night, us in LP Alliance Discord having fun getting ChatGPT to write love letters to anarchists from Leon Trotsky.
Yeah.
So, which were terrible, by the way.
Yeah.
And hilarious. But I definitely imagine that these were drafts that he rejected, draft love letters to Vera Zasulich. He clearly wanted to bang. Yeah, Republicans, Democrats, and Libertarians all hate libertarians, but we're going to infiltrate the Republican Party, Alexa, because we're not idealists. Okay. Therefore,
1 liberty, 2 liberty, 3 liberty were failures. Therefore, it's up to 4 liberty.
This is the 3 little pigs of liberty.
1 liberty, 2 liberty, 3 liberty, 4 liberty.
All right. If you want to read, if you want a palate cleanser, well, it was. I didn't necessarily want it to be to me, Alexa. That's just how it turned out. I did not ask. I do not use ChatGPT, so I was not one of the people who did this. But Kyle did, and what? Okay. Kyle did, and I think, was it Dustin or was it?
Sounds right.
Okay. One of them, or no, it was Maine. It was Maine Hippo.
Oh, what's Hippo? You're right.
Yeah. So if you'd like a palate cleanser, but would still like to read some theses, and I say still as though you just did, but I did some writing a while back on why
she does writing professionally.
Why there are so many people who are this way and who have this kind of mentality in the Libertarian Party, is that it attracts this mentality. Does libertarianism have some kind of allure for people with more nationalistic proclivities? And the answer that I came to was yes, but that comes from distortion of libertarianism and a bad job on our part of saying what libertarianism is about. Because when we're not clear enough about why we're doing what we're doing, it can easily look like this is the home for you if you just want to be left alone. And I just want to be left alone very quickly turns to, I want the people with guns to make sure that people leave me alone. And it goes on from there. That you project your identity onto a group of your choosing, yes, but it's very insular and it's very static. And again, if you want to read, I think I call it Libertine Reactionaries and the Libertarian Party, that is on the torch. Who knows? I might have what? Yes, it did. I know. It was horrible. I gagged.
And she got angry on the phone about it.
It was almost as bad as what we just did in terms of like my reading and interrupting. I would never. What love is there without debate? What the hell? What do you imagine I'd be talking about? Fucking some romantic comedy? How to lose a guy in 10 days? This is how to lose an Amanda in 1 letter. This is awful. But yeah, they were not great letters. But it was supposed to be Leon Trotsky, so I guess they did well. Yeah, on Libertine Reactionaries and Libertarian Party, I might have occasion to republish it and revamp it, especially in light of this. But yeah, I agree with Joe. This is great for the Republican Party. I hope he says this to the Republican infiltrators in the Libertarian Party of Colorado and convince them to leave to the Republican Party.
So, Austin Martin. Oh my God, I apologize. That's the
To
wrong
whom?
Austin.
To whom are
Austin
you
Martin.
apologizing?
Austin Martin. I think accidentally like confusing Austin Martin with Austin Peterson is definitely mean to Austin Martin. Austin Peterson's boring. At least Austin Martin's not boring. So Austin Peterson's been working with Angela McArdle. This is some of what's coming down the pipeline. If you're reading the Mises newsletters, some of the Mises newsletters are talking about things like this. It sucks. Grumpy Gnome's in the chat, right? Grumpy Gnome is Mises. He's not signed up to be a Republican. He fucking hates the Republicans. It's not every one of the Mises people is some fucking discount Republican. I see these kinds of things, and to me, what they scream of is desperation for relevance. These are people who have realized that the grift is done and that they need a new grift.
No, how is becoming swallowed by a major party relevant?
Because if they're the ones to do it, they have gained all of the power of the Libertarian Party. They have pushed this giant thing across.
It works.
Yeah, I know that.
Like to have imagining that they somehow succeeded and had the Republican Party had the Libertarian Party and the Republican Party merge. A, do they imagine that the Libertarian contingent would somehow win? B, how would the result be relevance for libertarianism? I get that is pure idealism. That is utopian claptrap.
It's worse because we there's a group doing this, right? There's already a group that's infiltrated the Republican Party and is working on this. It's the RLC, right? Mike Termont took his group of people. They're over in the Republicans trying to make headway with the Republicans. Why then would we do the same thing to infiltrate the Republicans from the Libertarian Party? It's fundamentally stupid. It doesn't make sense.
It's a war on all fronts except for the ideological one. Clearly, we can see very well the product of balking at an ideological tradition.
What about balking?
Or at a new one. That's what Austin Peterson's fighting against, Kyle.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is the second time I've read this. Because I read it once when it first came out, and I knew it was coming beforehand because it had been announced for LP Colorado, and I've been following their stuff. And I rolled my eyes then, and then this last hour and 15 minutes, I've been forced to listen and read through this again for you guys. And so you better understand how much I care about people knowing about this. And for my sake, and Amanda's sake, who's also had to read this at least twice now, you should like and subscribe and support the LPA and support the Torch.
If you want to read and write good things, you should submit to the Torch. And you should read the Torch. Check it out. We have a subscription model too, where you can get notified of new posts. I am so stoked by the new authors that we've had coming in, and the people who have been building a library on the Torch. It's really cool to see the work, and to just see people's ideas and to get to engage with them is wonderful. So please be part of that. I promise you, I will not tear anything that you write up like I just tore up that essay, because I can't imagine. I didn't care. No, I was actually very nice.
2 different articles.
No, the second one, I did not tear up. I said that I gave you advice on what I needed to see.
On how to rewrite the entire thing, because it was bad.
You asked me.
It was bad. I'm not blaming her for this, but I don't know if nice is the right word.
You said that I was nice before. You said that I was extremely apologetic.
That's apologetic, yes, but I would never.
You actually did say nice.
Well, I'm sorry. I apologize.
You should. No, you're extremely apologetic.
It's true. On an ideological level, I'm against Republicans. On a personal level, I don't care. Go be a Republican. If that's where you think that you can do the most good, be a Republican. You do not get to come be a Republican and tell me I also have to be a Republican. I will fight you. I will fight you tooth and nail.
Kyle says while with a dungeon background.
Yeah. That's about right, Dustin, for the record.
I did not use the word shit.
She did use the word shit.
I didn't.
She didn't just call the piece shit. She told me that I was a
that
shit
was
writer.
that was as a joke in the middle of play fighting. It was absolutely a joke.
Oh, it was
also absolutely not
fighting.
Heis and not Malagon.
It was an actual fight.
Also, the
she
night
was
that you told me that I did not understand anything about anything. So I think we're at the words. Yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, we pretend to get along for you, but in the background, Kyle is telling me that I don't understand anything about anything, and I'm telling him that he's a shit writer.
One of those hurts more because, you know, like, she clearly knows things about something. I don't know what they are, but it's something. And then her telling me I'm a shit writer, she's really good at writing, so it's like, oh, fuck. I wish we'd been in Minecraft. In Minecraft, I could have hit her with a pick. You don't go to prison for hitting someone with a pick in Minecraft.
Could you not threaten to hit me with picks, please?
Not in real life, only in Minecraft. So we've talked about the concept of having an LPA Minecraft server. If this ever happens, I'm making Amanda a character and naming it Leon Trotsky. And whenever she logs in, no matter what character she is, she's automatically reassigned Leon Trotsky.
I don't know why. I don't know enough about how Minecraft works to know how that would work. I'm just terrified of getting hit with pick now. So,
just like her patriarch Leon Trotsky.
That was definitely some kind of aggression.
Yeah, hitting people with picks is an aggression.
Yeah.
Not even micro. Like it's pretty macro aggressive.
Calling Leon Trotsky my patriarch is also pretty macro aggressive.
Legitimately, if you want to see more content from LPA, you want to see more of the stuff we're doing, definitely help out. One of the things that we are working on funds for right now is to get people to Grand Rapids. And no, this is not some, we're only going to bring our delegates to Grand Rapids. It's for any povertarian. It's for anybody that needs help getting there.
And it's full cost. Like, we want to be able to fund as many people as we can completely. We know that we can't do that for everyone, but we want to do it for a lot of people. So that means transport. That means lodging.
Our goal right now is to bring 100 people.
Means registration.
Have those people paid for. I don't like that sentence. There are words I don't know.
Kyle pretends to know German, so.
I pretend to know German well enough to order off of a menu most of the time. Like, I can point at the picture and say, Diese.
I could do that.
But, Steve,
she does, Dave. That's true.
No, seriously, get in touch with us. We're not kidding. We're here to help everybody. There's a reason that we're not a caucus, despite the claims to the contrary in some particular part of publications and things. We are working for the party.
We actually
people we disagree with too.
We know we're not a caucus because we're getting invited to things that caucuses are explicitly banned from attending. So there is that.
That's true. We will be tabling at the South Carolina Convention in the area where caucuses cannot be, because we are not, in fact, a caucus. We will have a table at George's Great Create, which is coming up in the beginning of November. We'll give more information about that sometime soon. Contract point for assistance. I mean, like, anywhere in the Discord's fine. You could poke me, you could poke Amanda. I think that'll probably have to go through the Revolutionary Spending Committee to decide how to help people and everything else. But there will be that's a good question. I'll get a thing added to our website.
I was going to say we're going to have a forum on LP Alliance, because I know that we talked about that a while back.
Yeah. So I'll get that up. We're going to have a reveal, hopefully, God willing, of LP Merit tomorrow. We've got some cool shit going on in the IT realm. Like legit enterprise grade hardware and software for everybody to use.
Kyle has built an LPA cloud server, which is amazing. And I know this because every time I call him, there's something wrong with it. And he claims to be good at technology.
Why not? If it is a ride problem, I will come get your ass. I don't know why I'm sitting there and asking Noam this one. Noam, you've got my number. Give me a call. LP Alliance, obviously tonight we spent the time shitting on Austin Peterson. But that's because Austin Peterson isn't looking.
We're not shitting on him. We're just shitting on his.
Okay, she's not shitting on him. I'm shitting on him.
Blandifesto. Sup, Free?
Free's here.
How you doing, Free?
And Free wasn't here early enough to tell me that I was on the wrong mic, and thereby you guys could hear my keyboard. Sorry.
I was trying to tell you that.
You should have just said it. If you can hear my keyboard, it means I'm on the wrong mic. Just tell me. Just tell me. Embarrass me publicly. You like doing it.
I mean, you just do a good enough job of that. So
we want everybody who's working for the betterment of the party to be working for the betterment of the party, right? And so we want to enable those things. We want to be a force multiplier, to use the buzzword from this past year. Make sure to publish on the Torch. Make sure to support the LPA. If you haven't joined the Discord, look at the bottom of the screen and join the Discord. It's legitimate. Like, sometimes we argue about nonsense. It happened earlier this week. And sometimes there are, cool shit that happens. Sometimes, I think.
Get involved. Our movement is stronger with you. So
yeah,
please do.
And we support the Libertarian Party only, Joe. That's not totally true. We're actually working with third parties like around the world and trying to get more people into the Liberty movement.
But most of them are the Libertarian Party. They're weird.
Yes, true.
We have the Libertarian International, which has been incorporated in the United States. We have a meeting tomorrow for an interim treasurer, which is amazing. Who has a great story too. So yeah, we'll probably talk with her later.
We should see if she'd be willing to come on and talk with us too.
And then the other gentleman from Venezuela as well.
So, if you missed the interview this last week with LP Russia, it's a great one. Help out with the LPA any way you can, even if it's just saying that you'll show up somewhere and table, or if you'll show up and wear a shirt, there is a decent chance that someone will buy you a shirt.
Please wear a shirt if you show up anywhere. Just show up and wear a shirt.
We'll be back tomorrow night with the business list, like every Thursday. Saturday is a little bit in flux. We have someone who's going to be in Colorado to potentially record things, but we may not be broadcasting live.
I'm traveling.
There's some questions on what's going to happen there. So donate to LPA and pay for Amanda's terrible plane internet so that she can be on from the plane. That won't bother anyone.
Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. Probably get work to pay for it.
Oh my god.
All right. Have a wonderful night, everyone. And again, we will catch you tomorrow for the business list.